Moving on to February, do you remember New Year when you said to yourself that this is going to be your year? That you're going to develop new habits and break your bad ones? Like if you had a bad habit of drinking alcohol, not going to the gym, and you want to lose weight, but you're not doing any of those habits. You said to yourself, this is my year, this is the year I'm gonna do it. But just to end up falling back into the same old bad habits. So how do you break free from all these bad habits? In Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about how you can break free from their bad habits, and in this video I'm going to discuss the 4 laws that he talks about and contents of the book, and I'm going to share my personal experience on each content and how it helped me improve my life and break away from my bad habits. And if you want to grab a copy of the book, it's in the description. And so let's begin with the power of Atomic Habits. In Atomic Habits, there's something known as the 1% rule. So let's look at a graph for this. The 1% rule looks like 1% better and 1% worse. So let's say if you 1% better every day, so it would be like 1.01 to the power 365, which is equal to 37.78. If you 1% worse every day, it would look like something like 0.99 to the power 365, which is 0.03. So, as you can see, in the beginning of the graph, it's not really very noticeable, but later on it begins to skyrocket. And habits, just like money, they compound. When you invest your money in the stocks or in any sort of investment, you're expecting your money to compound, and just like money, it does the same thing, and that can work against you or with you. So let's talk about how that can go with you or go against you. So positive compounds like productivity compounds, knowledge compounds, relationship compounds, and some negative compounds will look like stress compounds, negative thoughts compound, and outrage compelling. Let me show you what people actually think a habit will look like. So people think a habit is like a straight line. You just go straight. That's what people think. But what actually happens is it will go something like this. And in the beginning, you can hardly ever notice it, but it begins to go up and up and up faster. Now in the middle of between those two lines, there's an area called the valley of disappointment. Now that area is where people mostly give up. And why do they give up in that area? People give up is because they're not seeing any results in that area, because they're not facing any immediate progress. So success is basically just the product of daily habits. It's not a once-of-a-lifetime transformation. And now let's touch on goals versus systems. Now goals are temporary thing. Goals are something that you want to achieve. It's like an end term you have for yourself. While a system is something that's automatic, that happens on an automatic basis and doesn't have an end goal in sight. So James Clear talks about the problem with goals. Winners and losers have the same goal. I want to be rich, you want to be rich, everyone wants to be rich. They all have the same goal. Now, achieving a goal is a momentary change. You can achieve goal, but it's only in the moment that you achieve this goal. It's not like a full-time win. Now, goals also, they restrict happiness. Now, saying to yourself like, I can't be successful until I achieve $100,000 a month. I can't be happy until I make $10,000 a month. So saying that to yourself is very bad. And goals are also at odds with long-term progress. Because goals, they set you in a temporary state. You want to reach something temporary. It's like an achievement you win in a game. It's something temporary. While system is designed to be automatic, something you can live in your daily life and you can adapt to it and complete it on a daily basis. And also, James Clear talks about 3 layers of behavior change, which is outcomes, progress, and identity. Now, don't focus on the outcomes. Focus on building your identity. The goal is not to run a marathon. It's to be a runner. The goal is not to make money, but to be an entrepreneur. The goal is not to learn an instrument, but to play the instrument. When something in your life becomes a part of your identity, your habits begin to change automatically and naturally. For any good or bad habit, they go through this 4-stage process in the same order no matter what. And it's basically also known as a feedback loop according to James Clear. So what it looks like a cue, then a craving, then a response, and then a reward. So for example, let's look at your phone. Your phone buzzes. With a new text, right? And you want to learn what the context of the message is. You want to learn what the text is. So you grab your phone and read the text. You satisfy the craving by doing this. Now, cues can also be spotted everywhere you go. It can be spotted in your room, in your environment, and everywhere. And Atomic Habits shows us the 4 laws that help us guide us to use these loops to develop positive habits. So at first for me, I never used to make my bed. My bed always used to be dirty. It always used to be a mess. But that's the first habit that I actually developed. I just started making my bed every day using these 4 laws. I used to be really lazy and not do it. And now doing my bed feels automatic to me. It's like something I can't live without. It's something that I crave doing. If I don't do my bed one day, it doesn't feel right to me. So I was able to develop a positive habit like that because of these 4 laws. And because I adopted these 4 laws. So let's talk about law number 1. Is make it obvious. So how do you make it obvious? So the thing starts with you being self-aware of the habits you do. And to do that, you have to write it down on the habit scoreboard. So make a list of all the habits you write. For example, you can write something like, you wake up, you turn off the alarm, you check your phone, you go to the bathroom, you weigh yourself, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, floss your teeth, put on deodorant, hang up a towel, get dressed, and make a cup of tea. Now once you have your habits listed down, I want you to write it down with a plus, minus, or equal. So the plus is it for being a positive habit, a minus for being a negative habit, and equal is for being a neutral habit. For example, let's look back at the graphic at the chart again. At the scoreboard, I mean. So waking up, that's a neutral habit. Turning off your alarm, that's a neutral habit. Checking your phone, it's a negative. Go to the bathroom is a neutral habit. Weighing yourself is a positive habit. Taking a shower is positive. Brushing your teeth is positive. Flossing your teeth is positive. Putting on deodorant is positive. Hanging your towel to dry is neutral. And getting dressed is neutral. And making a cup of tea is positive. So also a good way to start a habit is by stating your habit in an intentional way. So if you have intentions that day, you have to say don't be generic about it. Say I want to lose weight. No, you have to make your intentions clearer and clearer by being more specific. And there's a formula that James Clear follows. And I'm going to read the formula real quick. The formula is, I will, behavior, at time, in location. So the thing is to focus on cues like time and location. These are really big cues. And because you implement them into the formula, you can easily utilize them to the best of your ability. So I will meditate for 1 hour in my kitchen. I will go to the gym at 5 p.m. in my local gym. Just something like that. You have to state it out clearly and out loud because then you're more likely and intended to do it. Another way to start a good habit is by habit stacking. So if you're already doing a good habit, you have to stack it onto another one. So after I go to the gym, after I work out, after I exercise, I'll meditate for 1 minute. Or after I pour my cup of coffee every morning, I'll meditate for 1 minute. Something like that. Something that you can compound on. Another thing to touch on is you have to make a good habit, you have to also redesign the area around you. You have to make your good habits more positive. So you want to drink more water. Put more water around your room. Put water on each corner where it's visible to you that you can see them. So then it sparks a cue for you. A cue to drink water. Or if you want to play the guitar, put a guitar around your room, somewhere in the corner where you can see it. Another way you can also utilize this is to make negative habits harder to see. If you don't see that negative habit, it's harder to act on it. That way, your habits are not associated with one trigger, but they're associated with the whole environment around you. And one thing to keep in mind is that building good habits in a new environment is a lot easier than building one in your current one, because your current one's mainly focused on those habits, and changing them is harder. So let me tell you an example for me. For me, I want to start working on my business. I want to start working on making money online. Now how I do it is I use my watch as a cue. I will put my watch on my desk somewhere where I can see it. So every day when I come back from the gym, I put on my watch. And my watch acts as a cue that, hey, it's time to start working. For me, mentally, it acts as something to start working, something to get me in the work mood. And automatically, my brain adapts to it, so I start working on it instantly on my business and my stuff. And that's how I was able to utilize this tool, by putting it in front of me and putting it on my hand, so that I remember, hey, it's time to do work. So now let's move on to law number 2, which is make it attractive. So law number 2 is to make it attractive. Let's look at the dopamine feedback loop. So dopamine is the sources of motivation, learning, memory, awareness, the source of all of that. But here's the thing about dopamine. You experience dopamine not when you get the pleasure, but experience it right before, when you anticipate the pleasure. Let's look at gambling addicts. Gambling addicts are addicted to gambling, as we know. It's not that because they win, but because they anticipate the reward. So right before they place a bet, right before they place any bet on any of the slot machines, they get a huge spike of dopamine, not after they win. So that's the same thing that goes with social media, junk food. The anticipation of the reward is way greater than the fulfillment of the reward. If you can make the reward something you can anticipate, it'd be a lot greater to do and accomplish. Now, let's talk about a good way to make your habits attractive. Is by something called as temptation building. Now, temptation building, what it does is you mix a want with a need. So, for example, you want to run. You mix it with a want, which is you want to watch Netflix. So you watch Netflix while you're on a treadmill. You want to exercise, you can also watch Netflix and do the exercises as well. That way, it becomes in your brain programmed to do it. So if you want to watch any Netflix show, you have to exercise. It makes it easier for you to accomplish that task even when you don't feel like it. Now that you started building all these positive habits, you're going to start worrying about what people think of you, because not a lot of people are doing the same habits as you or being the good ones. We as humans, we like to be praised by the good things we do, and we also tend to imitate habits that come from our tribe, our family and close friends, and powerful influential people. And a lot of people around you may not agree or think of the same habits that you do as a good thing. So that way you have to join communities with like-minded people who have the same goals, the same habit ideas as you. That way you have a sense of belonging, and that way your habits feel more natural to do, rather than feel like you're being constantly judged by the people around you. You have a community where people who are doing the same thing as you. Now for me, being an entrepreneur, I struggle thinking, because a lot of people around me, they had terrible habits. They had habits of watching porn or playing video games, but a lot of that. I felt like I stood out. I felt like I was being judged because no one's doing the same habits as me. It didn't feel like a place of belonging. Now humans like us, we need a place to belong. So what I did is I went on Facebook groups, I went on school, I joined communities with people that are like-minded like me. And they're constantly posting their improvements and doing their good habits on these communities. So now, that way it felt to me more natural that I'm doing these positive habits, and I was able to keep doing these positive habits because I know there's people other than me doing it, and I can see them doing it. And it also held me accountable to not doing those habits, because looking at their success and doing these habits, now I'm more motivated to do them as well. Now law number 3 is to make it attractive. So how long does it take to actually get those habits to actually stick? Well, here's the thing, there isn't any actually specific time to get those habits to actually stick. How it's actually done is by repetition. It's not the amount of time or how long you wait to actually do the habits, it's by the amount of times you redo it. The more repetitions you do, the more likely you are to stick to that habit. And James Clear actually says that, and I'm going to read it from my script down here. The amount of time you have been performing a habit is not as important as the number of times you performed it. Now, the best way to make a habit easy to repeat is by reducing friction. Now, how do you do it? We humans, we basically crave doing easy things. We always look for the easiest solutions. So then it goes back to the question, how? How do I make it easier? Well, you do it by making the environment around you where it's easy to do. It's easy to spot those habits and easy to do them. And you can also do it the other way around for the bad habits. So you have a bad habit of watching a lot of TV. What you can do is you can hide the remote controller. You have a bad habit of playing video games. You're going to have to hide or delete the video games. So what it does is, as humans, like I said, we naturally gravitate towards things that are actually easy to do. So to us, we're going to feel lazy and not want to do it. So we gravitate to the positive habits more than the bad ones. Now, if you're a huge person who procrastinates, who keeps procrastinating any good task, let's talk about the 2-minute rule that'll help you stop procrastinating. So basically, find a 2-minute version of what you want to do. Do you want to read? Read one page. Do you want to run? Start with exercising. The goal is to you use small wins. If you keep building small wins, then you eventually build up to building a good one. So if you read one page a day, you can start reading 2 pages the next day. You can gradually go up. If you want to do 50 push-ups a day, you can start doing by 1 push-up a day and gradually start going up. That way you're building really positive habits with the small wins, because running a marathon in 1 day is practically difficult. It's not impossible, it's difficult. So by doing it, you can't give up on it. It's something you're constantly developing and improving on. So for me, for example, I used to play a lot of video games. I used to play way too many video games. I had like hundreds of hours on video games. So what I ended up doing is I deleted the video games. So I stopped like naturally gravitating towards those video games. I focused on building those positive habits for myself. And for my clothes, for going to the gym, I usually start to procrastinate because some days I don't feel like going to the gym. But what I ended up doing is as soon as I wake up, I see the clothes beside me ready for the gym with my bag ready and everything ready, prepared for the gym. So my mind automatically graduates like, okay, everything's ready and set up. I don't have to do anything much except go to the gym. What you can also do is you can also keep your gym clothes on during the night. Well, that's something I tried. Because now you're already wearing your gym clothes and you're ready to go to the gym. And you also just go to the gym instantly. This makes it so easy and so simple to do. So without further ado, now let's move on to law number 4, which is make it satisfying. And that's the last law. Now our brains, because of the society around us, they develop to graduate to instant rewards over developed rewards. If you want a habit to actually stick, you have to make it feel successful immediately with those small wins. Those small wins, they make a huge difference. To do that, we actually have something called as a habit tracker. And because habits take so long to develop and so long to accomplish, you have to do it in a format called habit tracking. A habit tracker is what you do is you list down all the habits that you want to do. And you write it with a check mark whether or not you did it every day. Now seeing yourself check those check marks is actually satisfying to your body, to your brain. It's a small win. Now you check yourself off every time you do a habit. But here's the thing, you don't ever miss a day, or you don't ever miss more than 2 days. Because if you do, you're gonna fall back into that trap. So in some days you may not feel like doing it, but even if you don't feel like doing it, just try to show up. Sometimes when I don't feel like going to the gym, I just show up to the gym. And showing up is already enough to mark it down as check as for that positive habits, and it automatically satisfies our brain. So now you're more constantly to do it, to show up to your gym sessions. Another way you can actually make your habits more satisfying is having an accountability partner. Now having someone hold you accountable is really important. Or for some people it is, because here's the thing. We don't want people to think lesser of us. We want people to actually think greater of us. And having someone hold you accountable is like saying to yourself, if you don't finish the things, like I failed, he might think lesser of me. He might think I'm not as good as I am. And you can also do something as a habit contract, where if you don't do a habit, you have to pay your accountability partner money. If you're going to the gym today, you have to pay your accountability partner $10. Something to keep you accountable, something that gets you like to avoid that feeling of dissatisfaction, not paying money. So for me, I used to shop a lot. Actually, I wasn't too much of a shopper, but I used to shop in some cases, sometimes. But because I don't like shopping, it's a bad habit that I don't want to develop. Every time I shop, I put in 10% of the amount of money I spent into stocks. So I buy a product for $30, I put $3 into stocks. Maybe I put it into the same stock. But if I find myself buying Apple products, what I do is if I buy the new phone for $1,000, I take 10% of it, which is $100, and I put it towards Apple stock. That way it puts me in more of a financial gaining situation, because I'm not too much of a money spender and I want to save as much money as I can. Well, not save, but I want to invest and make my money turn into wealth and compound. And I do it by doing that. It helps me avoid the habit of spending unnecessary money. Lastly, if you don't have a copy of the book and you want to get one yourself, it's in the description below. There's no affiliate link or anything. I'm not affiliated to it, but it's in the description below. You can just get your copy and you can read over it if you want. There are some contents that I didn't touch on, like the advanced tactics, that I might touch on in a future video, or perhaps it might not. But it's something you can look for yourself because they're pretty advanced, like the title for them says.